Okay.
Thank you, Martin, for agreeing to talk to us.
Right. The building was built in about 1935 as part of the construction of the golf course by the Kennedy family. When Mr. Kennedy inquired about having a power supply from what was then the Island Light and Power Company, he was given the price of £10,000, which in modern day terms equates to about 700,000. So, having been confronted with that, he said, well, I think I can probably make my own power, thank you. And this building and the generators that are within it are the result of that. It was first constructed with just two gable end parts and contained two engines and two generators, and that supplied his power requirements at the time. Later on, again, we're not too certain about this, the second part, the lean-to, was added, and a second bigger engine, and we think the reason for that was that his power requirements had increased, and that was installed in about 1948. There is a certain amount of speculation as to when the building was extended. We think it could possibly have been done during wartime, but we certainly know from the Ruston and Hornsby historian that the second engine wasn't supplied until 1948. At the time of supply, each of these engines cost about the same as a luxury family car. So we were talking about something like, if my memory serves me correctly, something like £700 for the actual engine itself, which, again, doing inflation calculations, is about £20,000 nowadays. The smaller engine is the order of 30 horsepower. It's a 26 litre single cylinder engine, and it's air started, and the compressed air to start it was provided by the smaller engine in the centre here, although all the engines were configured to run generators, which is a little bit unusual. Nothing is run directly off the engines apart from generators, and they each feed into the switchboard, and you could operate all or a combination according to what your demand for electrical power was. The cables ran across to what's now the Golf Pavilion, and inside there's a switchboard which distributes the power to the other buildings in the Browns empire. So it also fed the ice cream factory, and one of the things that we do have is a very good selection of photographs of the interior of the ice cream factory back in the 1930s, and an awful lot of the electrical switchgear in there is very similar to what we have here. So we know that this was all installed at the same time. The switchboard itself was in two parts because it was increased, it doubled in size basically when the bigger engine was put in. And on top of the switchboard there is the maker's plate, which is Mr. E.G. Rapkins of Sandown, and indeed he was the person to whom the engines were supplied back in the day. He was described as a marine and electrical engineer, and in fact if you look at the design of the switchboard, it has a lot in common with those that are fitted on ships, and also DC generators, which are the common practice for ships installations. He must have been quite a chap actually, because he was still in business. His business was only wound up in 1980, and he passed away in the early 2000s, and I believe at that time he was in his 90s. So there is quite a history behind this building. It has been associated with the Pluto project, but from an engineering point of view, the power output isn't sufficient to have driven any of the Pluto machinery, but we suspect it was probably used for providing things like lighting and probably refrigeration to chill the officers' drinks and things like that.
Thank you.
That's the story, really.
That's really interesting. It's a fascinating building, isn't it?
Oh, you can go on forever.
That's it. Thank you ever so much.